A high-value woman is not created by attention, approval, or performance. She is formed in silence, in private decisions, and in the discipline of her inner world. Long before anyone else notices her presence, she has already made a choice about who she is and what she will tolerate. She does not wait to be chosen because she has already chosen herself. This choice is not loud or defensive. It is calm, rooted, and deeply internal. She understands that the world responds to identity first, not effort. When a woman knows herself, she stops negotiating her worth, and that shift alone changes how people speak to her, treat her, and approach her. Psychologically, people respond to certainty more than persuasion. A woman who is uncertain about her value unconsciously invites others to test it. A woman who is anchored in her self-respect does not need to explain where she stands. Her nervous system is regulated, her reactions are measured, and her energy is stable. She does not chase clarity from others because she provides it within herself. Emotional discipline becomes her advantage. She pauses instead of reacts. She observes instead of assumes. She allows silence to do the work that impulsive words often destroy. This is not passivity. This is power under control. Self-mastery begins with understanding that emotions are information, not commands. A high-value woman feels deeply, but she does not let feelings dictate her behavior. She recognizes when her ego is triggered and chooses restraint instead of expression. She understands that reacting emotionally may feel relieving in the moment, but costly in the long term. She asks herself not, "How do I feel?" but "Who do I want to be in this moment?" That question alone separates impulse from intention. She chooses responses that protect her dignity even when she feels disappointed, ignored, or misunderstood. Behavioral psychology shows that people unconsciously assign value based on consistency. A woman who changes her standards depending on who is in front of her communicates instability. A high-value woman is internally consistent. Her boundaries are not reactions to mistreatment. They are extensions of her identity. She does not become softer to be liked or harsher to be feared. She remains herself regardless of the environment. That consistency creates trust, respect, and a sense of gravity around her. People feel her steadiness, even when she says very little. She understands that attention is not the same as respect, and validation is not the same as value. Attention is easy to get and easy to lose. Respect is built slowly and lost quickly. She does not perform femininity for applause. She embodies it quietly through composure, discernment, and self-control. She is not overly accessible because she values her energy. She does not over-explain because she trusts her decisions. She does not overshare because intimacy is earned, not given away to relieve loneliness. A high-value woman is deeply aware of her inner dialogue. She knows that the way she speaks to herself becomes the way others speak to her. If she tolerates self-betrayal internally, she will accept disrespect externally. So she practices internal alignment. When she says no to herself, it means no. When she commits to growth, she follows through even when motivation fades. This internal reliability builds self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Not loud confidence, quiet certainty. She does not confuse independence with emotional armor. She allows herself to feel, but she does not bleed on people who did not cut her. She takes responsibility for her healing rather than outsourcing it to relationships. She knows that unhealed wounds create emotional hunger, and emotional hunger leads to poor choices. Instead of seeking someone to fill her emptiness, she fills her life with structure, purpose, and self-respect. From that place, connection becomes a choice, not a need. There is a difference between being open-hearted and being unguarded. A high-value woman understands this distinction. She does not build walls, but she does build gates. Not everyone deserves access to her inner world. She watches patterns instead of promises. She listens more than she speaks, especially in the beginning. She gives people space to reveal who they are without trying to influence the outcome. This patience protects her from disappointment and allows truth to surface naturally. Emotionally intelligent women are not cold. They are selective. They do not confuse intensity with intimacy or chaos with passion. They are drawn to stability because they have cultivated it within themselves. They do not need constant reassurance because they are self-referencing. They check in with their values before checking in with others' opinions. This makes them difficult to manipulate and impossible to rush. People either rise to meet their standards or remove themselves. Both outcomes serve her. A high-value woman does not fear being alone because she is not empty in solitude. She uses alone time to sharpen her mind, regulate her emotions, and strengthen her body. She invests in herself consistently, not sporadically. Her routines are acts of self-respect. She eats well not to be admired, but to feel strong. She rests not because she is weak, but because she understands sustainability. She learns continuously because growth keeps her grounded and relevant in her own life. She understands that desperation repels, while grounded presence attracts. The more she clings, the more she leaks power. The more she centers herself, the more others feel her gravity. This is not manipulation. It is natural law. People are drawn to those who are not trying to extract something from them. A high-value woman is full within herself, so her presence feels expansive rather than demanding. She adds calm to rooms instead of tension. Her sense of worth is not tied to being chosen, desired, or approved of. It is anchored in character. She keeps her word to herself. She acts with integrity even when no one is watching. She chooses long-term self-respect over short-term emotional relief. This alignment creates an internal confidence that cannot be shaken by rejection or praise. She does not rise with compliments or collapse with criticism. She remains steady. This steadiness changes how she moves through the world. She does not rush conversations, decisions, or attachments. She allows things to unfold. She is not afraid of pauses or silence because she trusts herself in them. Silence does not make her anxious. It makes her observant. She knows that those who rush her often want control, not connection. So she slows down. She takes her time. She lets people show their intentions through behavior. A high-value woman understands that her life is her responsibility. She does not wait to be rescued, led, or completed. She leads herself. This self-leadership is deeply feminine because it is rooted in intuition, discernment, and emotional regulation. She does not need to dominate to feel powerful. Her power comes from knowing when to engage and when to withdraw, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to stay and when to walk away without drama. She is not afraid to disappoint people who expect her to abandon herself. She knows that self-betrayal is the fastest way to lose value in her own eyes. So she chooses herself calmly, without guilt or explanation. She understands that those who respect her will adjust, and those who don't were never aligned with her to begin with. This clarity brings peace, not loneliness. Peace. As she continues to refine her identity, she becomes increasingly intentional with her emotions, her time, and her energy. She no longer pours into places that drain her. She no longer chases clarity from inconsistent people. She begins to set internal standards for how she feels around others, not just how they treat her on the surface. This awareness marks the transition from self-mastery into emotional standards, where her boundaries stop being reactions and start becoming filters for who gets access to her life. As a woman grows into her value, she stops measuring relationships by chemistry alone and starts evaluating them by emotional safety, consistency, and alignment. She pays attention to how she feels after interactions, not just during them. If she leaves conversations feeling confused, anxious, or diminished, she does not rationalize it away. She understands that her emotions are feedback from her nervous system, signaling whether something is supportive or destabilizing. Emotional standards become her compass. She no longer asks, "Do they like me?" She asks, "Do I feel respected, calm, and grounded in their presence?" That shift quietly transforms her entire relational landscape. A high-value woman does not wait for blatant disrespect to set boundaries. She addresses subtle misalignment early, calmly, and without emotional charge. Boundaries for her are not punishments or ultimatums. They are self-protective decisions. She does not threaten to leave to gain compliance. She simply leaves when her standards are repeatedly unmet. This is what makes her boundaries effective. They are not performative. They are enforced through action, not explanation. People learn quickly how to treat her because she teaches them through consistency, not confrontation. Psychologically, boundaries signal self-worth more than words ever could. A woman who tolerates emotional inconsistency communicates that her needs are flexible. A woman who calmly removes herself from situations that do not meet her standards communicates that her inner world matters. She does not argue her boundaries into existence. She does not justify them with stories or apologies. She understands that over-explaining is often rooted in a fear of being misunderstood or abandoned. She releases that fear. Those who are meant to stay will not require convincing. She is selective with her emotional labor. She no longer tries to heal, fix, or emotionally carry others at the expense of herself. Compassion does not mean self-sacrifice. She understands the difference between support and self-erasure. When someone repeatedly brings chaos into her life, she does not absorb it to prove loyalty. She steps back. She allows people to face the consequences of their own behavior. This restraint is not coldness, it is maturity. She knows that rescuing others often delays their growth and drains her energy. A high-value woman is comfortable with being misunderstood by those who only benefited from her lack of boundaries. She does not chase clarity with people who prefer confusion because confusion keeps them in control. She notices patterns instead of getting lost in potential. She understands that consistency over time is the only real proof of character. If someone's words are warm but their actions are unreliable, she believes the actions without bitterness or denial. She does not personalize inconsistency. She simply disqualifies it. Emotionally disciplined women do not engage in power struggles. They disengage from them. When faced with manipulation, guilt-tripping, or emotional withdrawal, she does not escalate. She regulates. She pauses. She removes herself from the dynamic internally and externally. This calm detachment often unsettles those who are used to provoking reactions. Her composure is her boundary. She does not need to win arguments. She prioritizes peace, clarity, and self-respect over being right. She understands that saying no does not require anger. Silence does not require justification. Distance does not require an announcement. She becomes comfortable with letting things end without closure conversations or dramatic explanations. Behavioral psychology teaches that people reveal more when they are not confronted. So she observes, she allows space, she lets absence speak. Often, what unfolds in that space gives her all the information she needs. She trusts herself enough to act on it. A high-value woman also sets boundaries with herself. She does not abandon her routines, values, or priorities for temporary emotional highs. She does not chase emotionally unavailable people out of boredom or ego. She recognizes when attraction is driven by familiar dysfunction rather than genuine compatibility. Instead of shaming herself, she gently redirects. She chooses environments and people that support her regulation, not spike her anxiety. This self-boundary keeps her from repeating cycles that once drained her. She becomes intentional about access. Not everyone gets the same version of her. Some people experience her warmth. Others experience her distance. This is not inconsistency. It is discernment. She matches energy without resentment. She does not overgive to underinvested connections. She does not withhold affection as a tactic. She simply stops pouring where there is no reciprocity. This creates balance. Those who value her adjust. Those who don't fade away. Her emotional standards also shape how she communicates. She speaks clearly, calmly, and directly when something matters. She does not hint, test, or manipulate to get needs met. At the same time, she does not beg for understanding. She states her position once, maybe twice, and then watches behavior. If behavior aligns, trust grows. If it doesn't, she steps back. She understands that repeated conversations about the same issue often signal resistance, not misunderstanding. A high-value woman does not confuse patience with endurance. She knows when to give space for growth and when to withdraw to protect herself. She does not stay in situations hoping someone will change if there is no evidence of effort. Hope without data is self-betrayal, so she grounds her decisions in reality. This realism does not make her cynical, it makes her free. She releases herself from emotional waiting rooms where her life is paused for someone else's readiness. She also understands that boundaries invite respect, not rejection. Those who are emotionally healthy feel safer around clear standards. They know where they stand. They do not have to guess. Her clarity creates ease, not tension. The tension only appears for those who benefit from blurred lines. She accepts that discomfort without trying to soften it. She allows people to feel what they feel without taking responsibility for their emotional reactions. As her boundaries solidify, her energy shifts. She becomes less reactive, less available for nonsense, and more present for what truly matters. Her nervous system stabilizes. She sleeps better. She thinks more clearly. She laughs more genuinely. This internal regulation begins to reflect externally. People approach her differently. Conversations become more respectful. Dynamics become cleaner, not because she demanded it, but because she no longer tolerates anything else. This stage of becoming a high-value woman is where many people fall away, not as a punishment, but as a natural sorting. She does not cling to what leaves. She understands that alignment requires space. As her emotional standards rise, so does the quality of her experiences. She becomes less interested in being desired and more interested in being respected. Less interested in attention and more interested in presence. From this grounded place, something powerful happens. She no longer needs to announce her boundaries or assert her worth. It becomes embodied. It is felt. Her posture changes. Her voice steadies. Her pace slows. She carries herself with an ease that signals she is not seeking approval or permission. This is where her confidence stops being something she thinks about and becomes something she lives, setting the stage for a presence that attracts respect without pursuit, explanation, or proof. As a woman embodies her value, confidence stops being a performance and becomes a state of being. She no longer thinks about how she is perceived because she is anchored in how she experiences herself. Her body relaxes. Her movements become intentional. She is not rushing to fill space or prove relevance. She understands that true confidence is quiet and self-contained. It does not announce itself. It does not compete. It simply exists. People feel it immediately, not because she demands attention, but because she is deeply present within herself. A high-value woman understands the psychology of presence. Presence is what remains when need disappears. When a woman no longer needs validation, reassurance, or external confirmation, her energy changes. She listens more than she speaks. She responds instead of reacts. She allows moments to breathe. This creates a sense of depth around her. Others may speak faster, explain more, try harder. She does not. Her calm becomes the center of gravity. People lean in, not because she is chasing connection, but because she is not. She is selective with where she places her energy. She does not show up everywhere or for everyone. Availability is intentional, not automatic. This selectivity is not rooted in arrogance, but in self-respect. She knows that her attention is valuable because it is finite. She does not spread herself thin to be liked or remembered. She trusts that those meant to connect with her will meet her in the space she allows. This discernment creates intrigue, not mystery, because it is grounded in authenticity. Embodied confidence shows in how she handles uncertainty. She does not rush to define relationships, label connections, or secure outcomes. She allows things to unfold naturally. This patience communicates abundance. Psychologically, those who rush often fear loss. Those who are grounded trust timing. A high-value woman does not try to control outcomes through effort or explanation. She allows people to reveal their intentions through consistency over time. If alignment is there, it will surface without pressure. She understands that attraction rooted in chasing is fragile. Attraction rooted in respect is enduring. So she never pursues attention. She does not double text to soothe anxiety or overgive to maintain interest. She allows space without fear. If someone pulls away, she does not chase to close the gap. She stays where she is, emotionally and physically. This stillness reveals everything. Those who are genuinely interested return with clarity. Those who were only curious fade. Both outcomes protect her peace. A high-value woman is deeply comfortable with her own company. Solitude does not threaten her identity, it strengthens it. She uses alone time to reconnect with herself, not to distract from loneliness. She fills her life with purpose, creativity, and self-care that nourishes rather than numbs. Because of this, connection becomes an enhancement, not a remedy. She does not cling to relationships out of fear of emptiness. She chooses them from fullness. Her confidence is also reflected in how she handles praise and criticism. Compliments do not inflate her ego because she is not seeking affirmation. Criticism does not destabilize her because she is internally anchored. She evaluates feedback calmly, takes what is useful, and releases the rest. She does not argue to defend her image. She does not shrink to avoid judgment. She remains steady. This emotional neutrality is powerful. It signals maturity and self-assurance. She no longer explains herself to those who are committed to misunderstanding her. She understands that explanation is often an attempt to control perception. She releases that need. Her life becomes simpler. Fewer words, clearer actions, stronger alignment. Those who resonate stay. Those who don't quietly fall away. She allows this without resentment. Not everyone is meant to understand her journey. That realization frees her from unnecessary emotional labor. A high-value woman does not weaponize femininity, nor does she suppress it. She embodies it naturally. Her softness is not weakness. It is regulated strength. She can be warm without being porous, kind without being self-sacrificing, open without being naive. She understands that true femininity is grounded, discerning, and self-led. It flows from inner stability, not from a desire to please or be chosen. She is intentional with her standards, but she is not rigid. She allows room for humanity without abandoning herself. She recognizes effort, accountability, and growth. At the same time, she does not rationalize patterns that consistently erode her peace. She trusts herself enough to walk away when something no longer aligns, even if it once did. This flexibility rooted in self-trust keeps her evolving rather than stuck. Her presence begins to command respect effortlessly, not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. People think twice before crossing her boundaries, not out of fear, but out of awareness. There is a sense that access to her is earned, not assumed. Conversations become more thoughtful, dynamics become more balanced. She does not have to correct behavior often because her energy sets the tone before words are needed. A high-value woman understands the power of restraint. She does not reveal everything at once. She does not rush intimacy, emotionally or otherwise. She allows trust to build gradually. This pacing creates depth and safety. She knows that what is rushed often lacks foundation. By moving slowly, she protects her heart without closing it. This balance allows connection to grow organically rather than explosively. She also understands when to disengage completely. When respect is absent, when patterns repeat, when alignment is consistently missing, she leaves quietly. No drama, no speeches, no final explanations. She understands that her absence is the boundary. This ability to walk away without burning bridges or begging for closure is one of the clearest signs of a high-value woman. It shows emotional independence and deep self-respect. Her life becomes less about proving and more about experiencing. Less about impressing and more about living. She invests her energy into what grows her rather than what drains her. Her relationships reflect this shift. They become calmer, deeper, and more mutual. She attracts people who value emotional regulation, integrity, and presence because that is what she embodies daily. A high-value woman knows that her worth is not negotiable, but it is also not something she needs to defend. It simply is. She moves through the world with quiet assurance, trusting herself to handle whatever comes. She does not fear loss because she knows she can rebuild. She does not fear rejection because she is not seeking permission to be herself. She does not fear being alone because she is whole. This wholeness is what ultimately attracts respect. Not beauty alone, not intelligence alone, but alignment. When a woman's thoughts, emotions, boundaries, and actions are in harmony, she becomes unmistakable. People feel it, they respond to it, and those who cannot meet it naturally fall away. She does not chase, she does not convince, she does not prove. She simply lives in a way that reflects deep self-respect, emotional discipline, and grounded confidence. And in doing so, she becomes a woman whose presence is felt, whose absence is noticed, and whose value is never in question.